Szlabey Zoltán.
Zoltán Szlabey, mathematics, geometry, triangle, space structure, folding. From these words, it is possible to make art, but for this we need Zoltán Szlabey, painter, graphic designer. In 1982, he graduates from Applied Graphics at the Hungarian University of Applied Arts. He finds his unique art language at his childhood mentor, the painter Ádám Mis. From the 80s, he is the graphic artist, corporate identity designer and implementer of Hungarian and foreigner companies. Ever since his years in the university, he is a participant of exhibitions in Hungary as well as in foreigner countries. Building on his early hard edge period, behind the gesture, he presents the old-time constructivist paintings. His paint-overs are followed by roaring dynamic colors and graphically tight compositions, but always referring to ancient forms. His artwork can be found in Budapest, Basel, London and New York, amongst other places. So geometry, art, Zoltán Szlabey, and the plane turns to space. Only he has to do it.
My connection with art started at a very early age. Since I always liked drawing, my grandmother from my father's side, who was from a cosmopolitan family, showed me art and introduced me to art. Surprisingly, she started with abstract art because she was in correspondence with Wassily Kandinsky.
Személyes levelezésben állt Wassily Kandinskyvel. Mikor 5. általános iskolába kerültem, akkor volt egy fantasztikus...
When I attended to 5th grade, I had a fantastic, very talented aquarellist art teacher, Zoltán Csipkai, who saw some fantasy in me and enforced my learning towards bright and strong colors and made me take pleasure in drawing. He took my drawings to some places and soon I started to win all kinds of competitions.
Előbb-utóbb elkezdtem mindenféle pályázatot nyerni.
By the time I graduated from high school, I was more interested in design and commercial graphics, so I started to learn these jointly with mathematics. This road led me to a rather successful period when I was working for a large international companies, and then Ádám Mis induced me to make art again. That was the time I started to make geometrical stuff again. This way, thanks to commercials during socialism, I had a chance to go abroad many times and I have seen American hard edge art in person. When I had to realize that the Hungarian hard edge is a Hungaricum that came from a really big misunderstanding, since those surfaces weren't so precise.
Látszik rajta az ecsetnyom, a vonalak szélének a rezgése.
As you could see the brush traces, the vibrating of the edges, a form of sensibility, so I started of course much more drastically cover and scribble over my geometrical works. This is where a very, I hope, unique understanding of geometry or this kind of art started, which turned me towards concrete art and its thinking.
Egy konkrét művészet felé sodort és abba a gondolkodásba vitt.
Of course my art cleared up again, because when I started this type of art in the 70s, we were still in the previous century. This was the art of the 70s. From this world I was looking for either a way to improve or a way out. This brought the coverings, the adaptations out of necessity in the socialism. Basically, it was a reaction to the world surrounding me and a search for a different way, such as there was a search for a way in the Hungarian society too. As I'm getting older, I'm already 59 years old, I started to look at the world from a different angle again, and I feel that in today's informatic and technological revolution, we have to react to the world differently. We can be personal differently than in the 20th century. A different world requires a different reaction. I think the world is sadly getting more and more tough, so I make a formally tougher reaction. Also, since I have graduated from theoretical mathematics, I have started to work in a different mathematical system, which have got different meanings. On the one hand, the rotation of three-dimensional objects in two dimensions or the other way around. While on the other hand, that a long time ago, circa 25 to 30 years ago, I have started thinking in triangle structures, which is a lot more easier since it has 3 sides instead of 4. A more easier structure, yet it is unusual since we are used to the square grid-based system structures.
Rendszereket, struktúrákat, és egészen másképp visz bele a térbe, például a végtelen.
It takes you into the space completely differently. For example, the infinities and its ties into an ancient culture. It can be tied to the 3, 5, 7, 9 organic world order. I mean, the triangles and its consequences. Triangles, hexagrams, moving things in space. It is very useful for the switching of cubes from space to a flat surface.
Alkalmas a kockatérbe és síkba való váltogatására.
This is partially the reason why I use it.
És hát persze az egy matematikai dolog, meg filozófiai.
Also, it is a mathematical and philosophical thing. When the triangle systems generated the Möbius ribbon series I have, which are scribbled and now as something new painted completely homogeneous, because mathematics are very interesting things.
Mert ugye a matematika egy nagyon érdekes dolog.
In mathematics, after a while, you get to philosophy. You can prove it in every cardinality that there is a bigger cardinality. Then you can prove that in the continuum cardinality, which is a series of cardinalities following each other, is the largest. Then you can prove that there is an even larger cardinality. Every argumentation is exact. From here on, philosophy, religion, and other things follow. This is how my Möbius ribbons came to life, the things that changed from their color to their backside. Even more, if we look at these are in a geometrical grid, and these try to experiment with the grid theory in space and time travel. I don't want to get too much into mathematics. At the intersections of the grids, wormholes are generated. We have the mathematical theories for that, but we can only find out whether it is true or not in 100 or 200 years. The experience is that theoretical mathematics precedes applied mathematics by this amount of time. For example, the Boyer geometry. In space science, they use Boyer geometry for a long time. They count using the hyperbolic spaces. This is how I got back to the beginnings, but in a completely different way. I think that if we put an earlier geometrical work of mine next to another one I recently made, these have very different emissions and structures. Today, concrete art has 2 types of interpretation in Europe.
Él a Max Billy indítatású, ahol
one is motivated by Max Bill, which is the European counterpart of the American hard edge, where we strictly use geometrical shapes, homogeneous surfaces and homogeneous structures for making objects.
Elkészített dolgok, tárgyak, és van.
The other is a much wider understanding forced by the research facility in Ingolstadt, where they only specify the way of thinking.
Tulajdonképpen csak a gondolkodás irányát szabják meg. Ugye a klasszikus absztrakt művészet úgy keletkezik.
The classical abstract art is made by depriving a real object or scene according to what we see, and that is abstraction. That is where the abstract expression is from.
Kell egy elvonatkoztatás, és az absztrahálás.
Concrete art is thinking inversely. It projects an intellectual, mental appearance of a structure and makes it concrete. This is why it's called concrete art.
Az ilyen tágan értelmezett konkrét művészetben már
a lot of things can go into the wider understanding of concrete art, from ready-made to facture painting to monochrome painting to gesture painting. The essence of it is that projecting of a thought should be the base and mover of art and not showing the surrounding scene.
Legyen a művészet alapja és a mozgatója. És hát ebbe is próbálok.
This is the philosophy I try to work in and try to find new ways personally, which is a curiosity in Hungary.
Kuriózum. A világ szerencsésebb felén azért ezt sokkal jobban befogadja.
On the luckier side of the world, the public accepts it much easier, probably thanks to the better education or presence of visual culture. If you think it through, We recept most information by seeing. It is before everything else, hearing, smelling or
A
touching.
jelentős részét vizuálisan fogadjuk be, és mindent megelőz, hallást, szaglást, tapintást. És Magyarországon
In Hungary, money, time, energy, education put into visual culture is way behind that of the verbal or musical section.
Vagy a muzikalitás alatt marad. A reklámból megtanultam, hogy bizony a különböző
From commercial making, I learned that the different colors, shapes, color-to-shape connections specify people's behavior, mood, well-being. Everyone can learn how to find their own subjective shapes and colors that make them feel good.
Saját szubjektív formáit, színeit, színkapcsolatait, amiben jól érzi magát.
Many people don't know why they aren't feeling good in their own home or in any other place in their own clothes. They can find their place or identity because they have no idea. They have never learned what is educational in grade school out of mental slowness, which is present in Hungarian culture.
Megjelenik a vizuális kultúra odáig jut, hogy
The visual culture goes as far as throw that broom or level, and if your drawing is similar to the original one, then you are skillful. Although visual art is not a question of your manual skill. Those who do it seriously, for that little slice what they do, sooner or later will learn the skills for it. I don't want to go too far, but even Van Gogh made mistakes drawing things, and still, he was a skillful guy. He made quite nice things. So visual culture and visual education should move down on that road, not to talk about problems and background reasons.
Előfordulhatott Magyarországon, hogy
in Hungary, for years in the technical university, the color theory wasn't a mandatory lesson. It was optional. Sad. Just think it through. For example, the Spanish house that had to be demolished thanks to its color, amongst many other things. It had problems with its shape too, but it was depressing because of its color. What a visual pollution they make. I won't look at a bad sculpture or a bad picture, but they take it down. It's a much smaller harm than a bad building. Financially, that's the peak of art. Let's take the public thinking for an example. If someone can't list a few contemporary writer, poet, or musician in a so-called intellectual society, he's an idiot. If you can't list a few contemporary visual artists, everyone just smiles that, oh, it's just art, who cares? Let's look at what stayed up to this day from ancient civilizations. Only visual things. It has to be the same medium of our culture and has to be respected just as much in our culture as music, which is educated and practiced on a very high level in Hungary, or at least used to be educated and used to be practiced on a very high level. Visuality never had that luck. There were always one or two voluntaries or poor artists who tried to change it, but the crowd never let them. They were always suppressed. It all started by folding triangles into cubes. If I mark the side diagonals of a cube, I get triangles. If I take these in a 45 degrees angle, I depict these in axonometry. Then, very simply, it turns into a triangle. A triangular structure is made, which if I add to, turns into a hexagonal structure, and so on. It is relative from this point of view that it bends outwards or inwards. It will have a three-dimensional floating, and that's how it transforms. I made it into reality in 1982-83 in the basement exhibition in Ferencváros. I had an exhibition where ribbons ran through the walls, bent in space and into the corners. These type of shapes were round. Later I made them into box works. Works lean to walls, then for a while nothing happens, and now that I started to make different type of geometry, maybe through a different point of view I try to add another dimension to it, partially movement, partially light.
Részben a mozgás, részben a fényt belevenni. Most azzal kísérletezem, hogy háromszög alapú
Now I experiment with triangular shapes that are opened up or cut open cleanly. I project these by light to the walls or corners, so both of these are plane and inclined plane, and with this everything turns relative again. Since without movements and the light's movements, these change their 2- and 3-dimensional effects.
Minden relatívá válik, mert a mi mozgásunkkal és a fény mozgásával tulajdonképpen ezek váltogatják a térbeli, síkbeli hatásukat, és azt vettem észre, hogy
I realized that in certain ways these turn into monumental forces from the very basic shapes.
Erővé válnak borzasztó egyszerű alapformákból. Az én számomra nyitott egy utat, amerre kísérletezek, és amerre úgy gondolom.
It opened up a way for me where I experiment and think that I can connect with a different technology of the 21st century. From lasers to edge lighting to LEDs to movements, I have a lot of ideas.
Ledekig, mozgatásig, mindenféle ötletem. Na mindenképpen ezt az utat akarom.
I definitely want to go down the road of plane space exchange, since I make things that are plane shapes, but are lifted from the wall, and from that, their shadows and lightning starts to move and their edges turn into actors in space.
A világítások is elkezd mozogni, illetve az élők is szereplővé válik a térbe.
Even before, I had object experiments in the 2000s where I used the wall and the space behind the artwork with these punctured shapes, objects, and with the lighting, the different drop shadows.
A kép mögötti teret és a világítással a különböző árnyékvetéseket. Most ezt is tovább akarom vinni.
I want to improve this with the painting of the back panel, different colorful reflections or colorful things.
Dolgokkal. Hát, ugye, és
and the folding.
Minden.
Every triangular artwork of mine starts by me folding a paper ribbon on a triangle grid, or either in reality or in my mind, I draw how these ribbons fold and I trace these from plane surfaces. Right now I feel that I over-explain if I show the grid, so my artworks are just foldings without the grids. I don't think that I will finish the folding anytime soon. I still have ideas for the next few years.
Nem ér véget a hajtogatás egyelőre, úgy gondolom, hogy még egy pár évig van ötlet.